Hey everyone, Happy New Year. My name is Kai and I'm an artist, creator, and mental health specialist. I've recently been obsessed with frogs and owls, so I've been making art of both of them, but never at the same time in one painting. So this time I wanted them to be together in the same scene. So here are some sketches I've done of owls and frogs in the past. For these sketches, I really enjoyed making them, but I had an idea to put them in the same scene and it really inspired me. And since art is not my full-time job, I don't have much time to film myself making art. I tend to make art mostly when I feel passionately inspired or I have an art show coming up where I want to showcase and sell my work. When I feel inspired by an idea, I tend to dive right in and obsess about it for hours or days, so I often forget to film myself because it interferes with my hyperfocus and hyperfixation of the thing I'm making. But this time I had time and I decided to film my process. For me, what really gets in the way of filming is not being able to move the canvas much and feeling restricted in how I move when I paint. I really like to get close to the paper and feel like I'm not being disturbed. And also, I'm just more aware of the fact that I am filming myself, so I get nervous about making a mistake on camera. I'm afraid to mess up. And this sort of leads me to what I feel like this video is sort of about, which is using your art as a way to show some of your growing edges. And so one of my growing edges is perfectionism. Man, that runs deep in my veins to the point where I hate making a mistake even when I'm just drawing by myself. So having a camera documenting my every move and my every mistake, that really triggers me for some reason. And this leads me to the main meat of what I'm trying to say. And it's one of what I feel is one of my life truths. The artistic creative process is deeply parallel to our own psychological and spiritual growth as humans. I'm going to say that again because I really want you to feel that. The artistic creative process is deeply parallel to our own psychological and spiritual growth process as humans. And if you're not spiritual, you could just take that word out and just focus on psychological. But I think that creating art shows us our strengths and also the areas we need to grow, not only as artists, but as people too. This example of me being so afraid to mess up is something I struggle with deeply as a person going about my daily life. I really struggle to make a mistake and be okay with it. And lately it's getting to the point where my hypervigilance about making mistakes is really no longer helping me, it's hindering me. So ultimately, I learned that in my mind, making a mistake means I am not worthy or that there would be some sort of harsh punishment. And I think this was reinforced to me as a kid. This narrative was just fed to me at a very young age by experiences and also by people just saying things to me or responding to me a specific way when I made a mistake. So for those of us with rough childhoods, we are made to feel this way. But now, as an adult, I know in my mind that I am not unworthy if I make a mistake, but the little child in me still believes so. So to cope with this, I tried to be perfect, or at least what society and what everyone else around me told me what was perfect. So over time, my self-worth became equated with being perfect all the time. It gave me a sense of control in a world that felt uncontrollable. But now I don't need to do this anymore. And so I am in this process of unlearning that. And I think art is really helping me to unlearn that because it's not helping my art either for me to hyper focus on something being perfect. And when I was making this painting, there were so many times where I was like, oh, that doesn't look how I want it to look, or that didn't turn out how I hoped. And I had to just let it go. I had to just be like, that's okay. It's part of the painting and that's what it is now. And I realized that a lot of those little things that I would focus on, you can't even really tell. Like, because I think we forget that when people look at art, they look at the totality of the piece itself. They're not looking at the little details. Maybe some people are. But if you just make it and not really worry about what it is that you're making, but focus on the foundation of things, then that's really going to show through and people aren't going to see the details. Their mind will fill in the rest. And so this art process and just art in general, I think gives me a safe space not only to heal from my wounds of not being perfect and not being worthy, and it does it by being able, it helps me heal by being able to be present with something I'm doing for a long period of time, but it also lovingly mirrors my growing edges. Even if facing my own insecurities and self-doubt is hard, I know that making art will always give me solace. At the end of a long art session, I get to see the fruits of my labor, and it is so satisfying. There's literally nothing that gives me more satisfaction as finishing a work of art. And this is mostly because when I put a lot of work into something and I see how it turns out, it just feels so, I don't know, it just feels so good. And I bet you as a listener, if you're an artist, I'm sure you feel the same way. And because it looks so good afterwards, or at least I get to see how it turns out, I tend to really enjoy looking back at it throughout my day to bring me more joy. Not only does the art process help me heal my wounds, but it also allows me to be present with the beauty of my finished product, which I believe is healing in itself. Even if you don't reflect on the art and it doesn't give you a special meaning, just being present with a project for a few hours and getting joy from looking at it is healing in itself. And sometimes healing can be that simple. So now I sort of want to talk about the kind of metaphorical significance of the owl and the frog, just to kind of give you an idea of how you can use your art to expand your personal growth. So the first thing for me was this frog, he's sort of silly. I don't know what it is about him, but he's just got a way about him. And I think images reflect things to us. That's what images are. Images themselves provide a place for us to project our own mental stuff onto. So the thing that I'm projecting onto this frog is that it's cute, it's kind of silly, he's sitting there in a very sweet manner, and this owl is just sort of calmly and with a still demeanor looking up at him. And I can just really feel, when I look at the owl, it gives me a sense of calm, and the frog sort of gives me a sense of silliness. And I think for me, what I've been learning about myself recently is that these two things for me are vital to my mental health. Like, I need sort of a silly, cute kind of demeanor within myself and some sort of outlet that allows me to laugh. But also I need an outlet that allows me to be still and allows me to admire and look at that part of me with love, because I sometimes think my silliness is, I don't know, over the top or not good enough, and that's just not true. So I hope that that just gives you a glimpse of how you can use your art to expand your own growth. And I plan on making another video like this in the future to really go into a deep dive of how you can use it. And I have a master's in counseling, so I would be super excited to kind of teach some of the things that I've learned and how to use that knowledge to heal yourself. Because I think art is inherently healing always. And let's take a moment for the most satisfying part, peeling the tape off of your painting. And here is the finished product. I think it turned out pretty cute. It's not my best work, but it's definitely something that I enjoyed doing, and by the end of it just had to let go of it being perfect. Because there were things I was looking at that I was like, oh, I don't like everything, but looking at it, if you take away that mindset and just enjoy it, I mean, it's beautiful. So thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you liked the art. And I hope you have a great 2024.